Take action without delay. Look down at your right hand. That hand possesses the ability to write your name. And in this nation, that written signature carries substantial influence. It moves your money, manages your accounts, facilitates your property transfers, resolves your obligations, and conveys your preferences to healthcare providers. Now imagine one morning when your hand is functioning normally, your identity remains unchanged entirely, but a physician has documented something in your medical records about your memory, a heart attack, or another issue impacting your capacity to make choices. From that point onward, your signature may no longer carry legal standing. And here's what the majority of people never comprehend. Your partner cannot routinely sign for you automatically. 50 years together does not routinely provide your spouse authority over accounts held exclusively in your name. Your relatives cannot routinely sign for you automatically either. Without the appropriate legal paperwork in position, your relatives may be required to navigate court procedures simply to receive control over your financial situation and individual matters. However, there is a method to prepare everything before that situation ever takes place. There are 4 vital documents that can help protect your family members from courtroom involvement. Today, I'll guide you through what those documents represent, the typical oversights people tend to make, and the sequence in which you should arrange them. Let me share the story of Robert and Margaret. Robert was 76 years old and had been married to Margaret for 51 years. Robert managed most of their household monetary concerns. Their checking account was mutual, but their retirement income, investment certificates, and reserves were kept mostly under Robert's name. Then Robert experienced a heart attack. He recovered, but he lost the capability to lawfully approve and endorse monetary judgments. 11 days following, Margaret went to their longtime financial institution to transfer funds from Robert's reserve to cover household costs. The employee recognized them both personally, but the employee stated, "You have no permission on this account." Margaret responded, "I'm his spouse." But the account belonged to Robert, and Robert could no longer approve anything. The paperwork that might have prevented this whole situation needed to have been completed before Robert lost his legal standing. That was the fundamental challenge. Margaret ultimately had no option except to turn to the judicial system. For months, she could only reach the resources she could lawfully obtain through their mutual account. This represents exactly why advanced preparation is so incredibly vital. Whether you're the individual whose name is on the majority of the balances, or you're the spouse who would manage everything if your companion became incapable, this has immediate relevance to you. When someone becomes unable to function legally without adequate preparation in position, relatives may need to pursue legal guardianship or conservatorship, depending on where they are situated. That procedure can involve court documents, legal professionals, physician assessments, judiciary-appointed representatives, thorough inspections, monetary reports, and continuous judiciary supervision. It may additionally cost tens of thousands of dollars. And guardianship isn't always simply once. Depending on the area and the circumstances of the ruling, the guardian may be required to get court authorization for significant monetary transactions, property deals, portfolio decisions, and other important undertakings. The judicial system may additionally designate a compensated guardian when relatives differ or when no fitting relative is ready to participate. Most guardians are simply performing a taxing responsibility under demanding circumstances, but the principal understanding is this: when the judiciary controls things, your relatives no longer maintain complete direction over circumstances, and exiting guardianship once it's put in place can be surprisingly complicated. That's precisely why the purpose is to organize arrangements before capacity is ever diminished. File number 1 is the persistent power of attorney. This is arguably the singular most critical monetary document in your comprehensive plan. A persistent power of attorney permits you to appoint someone you have complete confidence in, your representative, to handle monetary concerns for you if you turn out to be incapable of handling them yourself. Your representative might be capable of settling your obligations, supervising your monetary accounts, handling coverage demands, interacting with monetary businesses, directing portfolio management, and keeping your monetary circumstances functioning smoothly. But there is one particular phrase you completely must concentrate on: persistent. A typical power of attorney might turn out to be ineffective the instant you turn out to be incapacitated. A persistent power of attorney is specifically constructed to continue in complete effect throughout intervals of incapacity. A further significant idea is the conditional power of attorney. Certain files only turn into functional after incapacity has been formally confirmed and recorded. That might produce considerable delays because your relatives might have to gather physician statements before the file can be utilized. Depending on your unique circumstances and the guidelines in your area, a judicial specialist might suggest a file that starts working right away but is just supposed to be utilized when absolutely required. Pick your representative with significant attention. Don't pick someone merely because they're your eldest kid or because picking them seems like the reasonable choice. Pick the individual who is genuinely dependable, well-organized, financially responsible, and genuinely ready for managing intricate forms. If required, choose a replacement individual also, and comprehend this completely. A power of attorney does not automatically imply you are transferring control of your possessions. You typically keep complete authority while you maintain capacity, and can typically revoke the file at any moment while you stay legally authorized to do so. You can similarly talk with a judicial specialist about particular protections, for example, needing paperwork or additional authorization for substantial or significant purchases. The precise guidelines differ markedly by area, so the file has to be fitting for the territory or area where you are based. And one absolutely vital reality: both marital partners need to arrange individually. If the spouse becomes incapacitated, the marital partner needs safeguards. If the marital partner becomes incapacitated initially, the spouse needs that identical safeguard. Finalize both files somewhat, then presupposing that matrimony instantly fixes the circumstance. File number 2 is your monetary institution's own power of attorney paperwork. Below is something many individuals truly don't recognize exists. Even when you maintain a completely authentic outside power of attorney file, a monetary institution or portfolio business might still require duration to thoroughly examine it prior to consenting to follow it. That's why it's a sensible choice to contact your monetary businesses specifically regarding whether they possess their own separate power of attorney files obtainable. Stop by your monetary institution while you both are healthy and in acceptable standing, and just ask, do you have your own power of attorney paperwork, and can we put it on documentation for our balances? Having the business's chosen file currently handled and on documentation might greatly reduce holdups when they matter most. Also think about preserving your files current and refreshed. If your power of attorney is multiple years old, talk with your judicial specialist and your monetary businesses regarding whether refreshing it might prove advisable. While you're at your monetary institution, additionally inquire regarding putting in a recognized contact individual. A recognized contact generally does not gain any authority over your genuine account. Rather, the monetary business can get in contact with that individual if something appears questionable or if they possess reservations regarding your capability to appropriately oversee the account. It's an uncomplicated yet significant supplementary degree of defense. File number 3 is the healthcare agent and high pay A release. Thus far, we've concentrated solely on monetary concerns, but incapacity generates an additional substantial dilemma: healthcare judgment making. A healthcare agent, healthcare power of attorney, or healthcare substitute assignment, depending on which territory or area you inhabit, permits you to assign the particular individual who is able to determine medical possibilities for you when you no longer are able to. Without one prepared, your area's preset judicial guidelines will establish who is permitted to determine those possibilities for you. Your relatives might presume the response is totally straightforward, but the guidelines does not consistently function in accordance with relative anticipations and presumptions. That's particularly why you must designate your healthcare judgment maker personally according to your own requirements. Next is the question of HIPAA. A healthcare agent and a HIPAA release are not automatically identical judicial files. A HIPAA release is capable of permitting chosen individuals to obtain your confidential healthcare documentation. Consider your grown kid is in an additional territory and dials the medical facility throughout a healthcare situation. Without the suitable authorization on record, the medical facility might be lawfully incapable of providing specific details to them whatsoever. The HIPAA release specifically manages the information distributing complication. The healthcare agent manages the genuine judgment-making complication. You might completely require the two files functioning jointly. File number 4 is the healthcare wishes or sophisticated healthcare instruction. The healthcare agent responds to the query, "Who communicates for me?" The healthcare wishes responds to a completely distinct query, "What do I actually prefer?" And sophisticated healthcare instruction or healthcare wishes is able to file your individual inclinations concerning significant healthcare circumstances, life-preserving medication, ease-centered medication, and different end-of-life selections that are significant to you. This constitutes a deeply individual effort. Your inclinations must authentically mirror your own beliefs, convictions, and the discussions you've participated in with those nearest to you. The vital comprehension at this point is that your relatives should never need to figure out what you might have wished. Don't simply append your name to the file and keep it in a compartment somewhere. Communicate with your healthcare agent immediately. Clarify what you prefer, and equally critically, clarify precisely why you prefer it. That discussion is able to be just as significant as the file itself. Now here's the component that actually counts. The final deadline for preparing these files isn't necessarily December 31st of any calendar year. It isn't the finish of an income filing duration. The genuine and unchangeable final deadline is the disappearance of legal standing. You typically require having the legal standing to comprehend precisely what you're affixing your signature to during the instance you prepare these files, and you cannot anticipate precisely when that prospect window will end permanently. A heart attack is able to take place without any notification whatsoever. Memory deterioration is able to develop quite gradually throughout duration. Someone might look totally normal externally, while their capacity to really grasp intricate judicial files is quietly shifting underneath. Recollect Martha. She was 81 years old and maintained 2 grown kids. Her recollection progressively started declining through the seasons. Obligations remained unsettled, and gradually she turned into a focus for monetary mistreatment by outside individuals. Her kids realized that she maintained zero power of attorney whatsoever. In the instant they tried to deal with the matter and manage the scenario, she was no longer equipped to appropriately execute the required judicial files. They finished up going through legal guardianship hearings because of it. Her relatives differed about her medicines and residential conditions, and a compensated guardian finally grew to become included in the circumstance. The comprehension here isn't that every household will encounter that specific identical outcome. The comprehension is uncomplicated and immediate. There might be zero notification whenever your prospect window to append your signature quietly and for all time shuts. What happens if you currently hold a healthcare finding of some kind? Don't instantly conclude it's currently much too late for you. A healthcare finding does not definitely imply that someone is lacking legal standing. Standing is typically examined considering whether the individual actually comprehends what they are appending a signature to during the specific minute they append a signature to it. If someone in your house has obtained a memory finding or an alternate circumstance that might have an effect on their judgment-making capability, kindly do not continue waiting. Communicate with a specialized aging law judicial specialist without hesitation. The vital query to bring up is not, "Are we equipped to manage this at some point down the road?" The authentic query is, Does this individual authentically comprehend what they are settling to at this moment? Here is a straightforward activity you are capable of executing this specific evening at your residence. I categorize it as the 20-minute counter activity. Obtain a sheet of material and jot down every meaningful account and item you maintain: monetary, reserve, investment certificates, pension, portfolio balances, property, automobiles, protection systems, and any supplementary items that genuinely matter. Alongside each individual, jot down which individual's designation governs that item. Following that, genuinely ask yourself, if this individual's endorsement quit functioning tomorrow, could the alternate spouse nonetheless handle this appropriately? If the response is no for any of these, you've simply discovered an authentic and considerable issue in your organizing. And do not dismiss the web element of your monetary circumstances. Your monetary situation might currently be determined significantly by monetary applications, message interaction, security verification procedures, contact numbers connected to balances, entry phrases, and internet declarations that don't show up by postal mail. Judicial authority and web admission are a couple of totally distinct matters that each need resolutions. Arrange a secured and steadfast approach so your relatives recognize specifically where each essential detail is kept and how to obtain it. There's an additional vital alert to maintain in consideration. Financial organizing and aging law assistance can be genuinely important and precious, but don't ever permit anyone to push you into acquiring an extravagant bundle simply because they efficiently frightened you into sensation like you possess no options. A lot of territories provide legal documents that are legitimately authorized and broadly accepted. Medical facilities frequently give out healthcare direction files without charging. Monetary institutions provide their personal separate files as well. Judicial aid businesses and neighborhood aging assistance businesses might likewise have the ability to give important assistance. For increasingly complicated and refined circumstances, compensating a judicial specialist to generate a completely tailored organizing can definitely be resources properly invested, yet consistently confirm you fully grasp precisely what you're obtaining and precisely why. You do not fundamentally require a pricey, thorough bundle merely to establish fundamental yet strong defense for you and your household. Right now, let's create this as straightforward and functional as feasible. Below is your functional 1-week strategy. First day, identify your individuals. Choose your monetary representative, your reserve representative, your healthcare agent, and a reserve for that function as well. Create your determinations centered on dependability and genuine readiness, not merely centered on household rivalry or age progression. Day 2. Secure your persistent power of attorney file. If at all feasible, have a certified judicial specialist examine it thoroughly. Confirm certainly that it is configured to continue completely functional throughout intervals of incapacity. Day 3. Go to your monetary institution and your portfolio business in individual. Question specifically, do you have your own power of attorney paperwork? And can we put it on documentation for our balances at this moment? Additionally, inquire regarding putting in a recognized contact individual to your balances while you're there. Day 4. Finalize all of your healthcare files, encompassing your healthcare agent selection, your HIP AA release, and your healthcare wishes or sophisticated healthcare instruction. Day 5. Notify your relatives what you've accomplished. Supply duplicates to the fitting individuals and verify they recognize specifically where the authentic appended files are being retained. Since a file that no individual can discover whenever they require it is virtually as problematic as never having arranged the file at all. Examine your hand one additional instance. That hand symbolizes something much more significant than simply an endorsement on a portion of material. It symbolizes your capacity to choose what occurs to the capital, the possessions, and the vital selections you have invested your complete lifetime carefully generating. You don't recognize which ordinary instant might abruptly modify completely everything without any notification. So kindly do not continue waiting till the instant your relatives are positioned at a monetary institution counter getting instructed, "I'm genuinely regretful. You simply do not possess the authorization to execute this." Organize your preparations while you continue to be equipped to append a signature to everything personally. The 4 vital regions comprise: primary, the persistent power of attorney; secondary, your monetary institution or portfolio business's personal separate power of attorney technique, alongside putting in a recognized contact individual; thirdly, the healthcare agent merged with a HIPAA release; finally, the healthcare wishes, or sophisticated healthcare instruction. The goal at this point is not to transfer direction over your circumstances. The goal is to confirm that if you momentarily or lastingly misplace the power to create your individual selections, the individuals you depend on primarily can measure up and carry out for you, lacking coercing your complete household to begin from the beginning contained in a judiciary structure. You continue to retain the writing instrument securely in your possession. Apply it right now while that endorsement is totally and genuinely yours.